Welcome to Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. Like to welcome y'all to the show. On this show, we only bring you the real information. This show is like none other. Listening to this show, you will be amongst the smartest people on the planet, right? Now, we know that we're in dangerous times, especially dealing with the new coronavirus, right? But we also know that whenever the population of people, the citizens, are smarter than its leaders, then that poses a problem. And every time you have situations such as this, things that arise from situations when you have citizens that are smarter than its leaders, there's always a epidemic or a pandemic that arises. And it reminds me of Zbigniew Brzeznski, right? When he was saying that it's easier to kill 1 million people than to control them. Now, the question would be asked is, why would you want to control people? When every human being is born with a gift, and and the Creator sufficed us with sustenance to maintain that life, and also with material things on this planet in order for you to cultivate your gift. Things that you can create. You can make chairs, tables, furniture out of trees. You can make statues from stone. You can do things with sand. You can make mirrors. It's so many things that you can do with some of the natural material that's on this earth. I mean, we use oil damn near in everything that's produced. I mean, but you have to have a mind, a brain, a body behind these material substance, behind this material matter, in order to shape it and cultivate it into something for your own pleasures, right? So why then do you have men or people in power who wants to control other men or their destination? We all have free will to exercise our talents and our gifts that is allotted to us by the Creator. But yet there's this mindset in men who says, well, we have to control the narrative. We have to keep you all safe because we're smarter than you are, and you don't know what it is that you're doing. So we have to be your daddy figure, your big brother figure, to protect and keep you idiots safe from harming yourselves, right? It's like, where did that idea arise from? Where did you get the notion to think that the 1% elite or the elite knows what's best for humanity? Where'd you get the notion to think that somebody could be a mediator between you and God talks to them, but not you, and he tells them, he relays the message to them to tell you what you should or should not be doing? Where do we get to that point and stage? Now, it is true that those who have wisdom or a profound knowledge usually is the light that leads the way. But those individuals who have that knowledge and wisdom, they share it. That's why they call them poor righteous teachers, or the 5%. They share that knowledge with the masses to raise everyone up. But when you have those who have knowledge, who wants to keep that knowledge hidden away from the public so they can rule over the public, so, they can be the ones that say, hey, look at me. I have this and you don't, so therefore you have to come to me to get it. Those are people who are really led by their egos. Those are people who want to appear as God, but don't have the attributes to be God. You get what I'm saying? So let me play something for you all, and we're going to tie this all in just a moment.
For the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
That was Zbigniew Brzeznski stating that it's easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people in today's time. Now, he was saying in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than to kill 1 million people. But what shifted the thought? Well, it shifted because more people are politically astute. But how did the people become politically astute today versus, let's say, in earlier times? Well, in earlier times, people were already educated, was knowledgeable, right? And I'm talking about before 1492. And so those who govern really did govern for the will of the people, because the people would elect a leader and the leader would serve the people. It wasn't that like it is today, where you put someone in power and they dictate to the people terms on how they think it should go to protect the self-interest of a small group. So once it started, the gap, once things started closing to where leaders was no longer listening to its constituents, to the people that put them in office, and they started turning to where the political powers were lobbying for businesses and corporations on the best interest of the corporation versus the best interest of humanity. The people had to get back and start studying politics in order to debate, or in order to raise a point, or in order to get their point across properly so it can be heard or addressed. So people started getting involved in politics, and actually you saw that with Bill Clinton. People were studying a little more with George Bush. Then when Barack Obama came into play, and he used social media and basically had a grassroots campaign, he was tapping into that political astute younger generation who knew what they wanted, who demanded what they wanted, and who knew policies and who knew laws. Now, you can go back to the Black Panthers, right? Black Panthers had points. Black Panthers knew law. They started studying politics in a sense to know what their rights were. And now you had that was spreading through the community. They tried to kill that by sending an influx of drugs into the black community into the 80s. But that only worked for a period of time. And now, even especially with Obama's presidential election, more and more quote unquote minorities are learning more about politics and more astute, and they have questions to be raised. And so when you have this large mass of people asking questions and they know how things should be ran, and they have this knowledge, then it's a threat to those who want to keep the power to themselves and feel as though the people are like sheep or like cattle who needs to be herded and led in a direction that they see fit or see profitable for themselves, meaning that the direction that they're leading the masses is not serving the masses, it's serving the elite, is serving the corporation to make a profit, but it trickles down to the masses to where, Lazarus come get these crumbs, and the people are saying, hey, no, we demand this, we want higher wages, we want this, we want that. And the elite is like, hey, man, y'all putting a strain on the system. So that's why you have a Zbigniew Brzeznski who can come out and say that today it's easier to kill 1 million, than to control 1 million. So then it leads to the question of, damn, where is this coronavirus headed? What is the state that we're at? You see so many people saying that the earth is overpopulated. You seeing people saying that we're starting to deplete our resources and whatnot. Hold on, let me read this for you. Right? It says cities are part of the system we've invented to keep people alive on Earth. People tend to like cities and have been congregating in them ever since the invention of agriculture, 10,000 or so years ago, which was agriculture was invented longer than 10,000 years ago, but we'll keep rolling. That's why we call it civilization. This origin story underlines how agriculture made cities possible by providing enough food to feed a settled crowd on a regular basis. Cities can't work without farms, nor without watersheds that provide their water. So as central as cities are to modern civilization, they are only one aspect of a system. There are nearly 8 billion humans alive on the planet now, and that's a big number, more than twice as many as were alive 50 years ago. It's an accidental experiment with enormous stakes, as it isn't clear that the Earth's biosphere can supply that many people's needs or absorb that many waste and poisons on a renewable and sustainable basis over the long haul. We'll only find out by trying. And what they're saying that the earth can't handle all these people. They're saying that it's so many people on the planet that it's causing a strain on the planet. Now that's the mind of men. But what did it say in the beginning? It says to sustain, maintain, populate this earth. Because whatever needs that the people have, you don't think that there's a higher power that will sustain the needs? It says right now we are not succeeding. The Global Footprint Network estimates that we use up our annual supply of renewable resources by August every year, after which we are cutting into non-renewable supplies, in effect stealing from future generations, eating the seed corn. They used to call it, there's a term, you eating the seeds corn. At the same time, we're pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere at a rate that is changing the climate in dangerous ways and will certainly damage agriculture. This situation can't endure for long. Years perhaps, but not decades. The future is radically unknowable. It could hold anything from an age of peaceful prosperity to a horrific mass extinction event. Look, it could hold anything from an age of peaceful prosperity to a horrific mass extinction event. The sheer breadth of possibility is disorienting and even stunning. But one thing can be said for sure: what can't happen won't happen. Since the current situation is unsustainable, things are certain to change. That's from The Guardian. Look, what it's saying is that things can't stay the same. A change has to be made. But it's like the Native Americans, it's like the Indians and the colonizers all over again, right? The Indians and those who, if you're not a billionaire, or if you don't have 100 million on up, then you will be considered the Indians. If you got 100 billion on up, you will be considered the colonizer, right? Now the Indian living on the land, there's no carbon dioxide. Everything is peaceful. They hunt what they need, kill a buffalo, use the buffalo hide for clothes, for warmth. They drinking natural water. They fishing, hunting, had their traditional ways, tribal ways, had a way to settle differences, but the basic goal was to create and live in peace, right? But then here comes the colonizer. We can put a factory over here. We can put a shed over here. We can put a paper mill over here. We can chop these trees down to create this over here, right? And it's like, okay, well, that's fine, but let's do it to a degree to where we're not depleting the forest, right? But then you have a rival paper mill company who need trees as well, because they're not gonna sit around and let this one company make all the money. Then you have another rival company. It's three. They like, wait a minute, we want to get in on the act too. So everybody's chopping trees. They sit in the paper mill. All that fire and the process is going into the atmosphere, and the native people are like, hey man, okay, I understand paper, but we don't want the pollution. We want to live in peace. We still want to continue our ways. But now you need more land because you expanded, so you got to move the people further off their land. And, and now the people are upset. But then it becomes, hey, do you want these luxuries that we're providing for you? Matter of fact, I tell you what, we'll offer you a job at the paper mill. You can make some money, and you can feed your families, and your family be proud of you. You can, matter of fact, we got these train systems that we're setting up, and with this money that you make, you can take your family on a train ride, on a vacation to go see the distant lands, and they would get you farther than if you would on a horse and buggy. Right. And so over time, they expand and they build it. Now all of a sudden species dying, The game that you used to hunt is no longer there because it's been ran out of its habitat. And so now, where you at now? Now you're noticing the funny taste in the water, but yet companies are coming, it's expanding, they building, but more pollutants in the air. And then it comes down to the people start getting smart. They start wising up, and they're like, hey, wait a minute, we're not going for this. Let's all unite and we'll overthrow this, and we'll cut back the production. We'll cut that back in order to bring back a safety environment, in order to bring more clean air and bring back some of these endangered species. We'll cut back some of these corporate entities, right? But then the corporate is like, if anything is going to be cut back, it's going to be the population of the people. So now you're going back and forth, and now all of a sudden, what? Smallpox comes and take out the Native Americans, take out the Indians, and now the corporations got free space to roam. You know, it's how can we say it's the system that we in? You know, it is what it is. You know, hopefully, because there is a creator. Hopefully, everything works out for the benefit and good of the people. You know, hopefully, that statement by Zbigniew Brzeznski of it's easier to kill 1 million than control 1 million, that they're not coming up with ways to cull a population of the people on Earth, you know. Hopefully, and that this coronavirus, hopefully, as Trump calls it, the invisible enemy or something to that degree, the invisible threat, the invisible virus, or whatnot. And he also called it a Chinese virus. You know, hopefully, you know, it's not used as a tool to cull its population. But, anyways, make sure you washing your hands. You know, make sure you following guidelines to protect yourself and your family. You know, and look into, meaning, when they put out a warning, heed the warning to protect yourself, because you don't know. You know, all you can do is watch the news, pray, and hope you're doing the right thing, and hope those that's in charge is doing the right thing. Bro Pick Radio, we're out.